What's going on, guys? Matt here, and today we're going to be looking at the sci-fi zombie space roguelike Redacted, which surprised all of my expectations. Ever since Hades came out, I fell in love with the roguelike genre and dove headfirst into the world of shoot slash upgrade, die, repeat. Also, as I've gotten older, I've realized I don't have as much time as I used to, and to really sink into those 30-hour plus campaign games like, for instance, Dragon Age Veilguard, that are littered with brutal dialogue and not enough action.
If you used words.
What? Tell the rock what to do?
Sort of.
It's not a dog.
Yeah, but just try it.
Seriously, man, I just can't with these kinds of games anymore. I just can't do it, man. Over this past weekend, I saw Redacted for $30 Canadian and saw people comparing it to Hades, stating, if you are waiting for Hades 2, pick this up. I have actually played Hades 2, and it is incredible. I've already put about 30 hours into it in the early access, and they just keep adding more and more content. I still can't believe the incredible team over at Supergiant. They're geniuses, and I can't wait to play more Hades 2, honestly.
Come then, agent of change, and show me what I know you can do.
The game seemed interesting enough, boasting about killing zombies in space, trying to escape a prison with various weapons and abilities. I've always been kind of addicted to the zombie genre ever since World at War and Left 4 Dead. Those are the first zombie games I played. Pretty solid start to my kind of zombie killing journey, and ever since I played those, I've just been like addicted to just the whole zombie killing thing in general. Yeah, the whole premise makes me think of a Dead Space roguelike, but the game is apparently, I looked up, vaguely set in the Callisto Protocol universe, which I never actually played because of brutal reviews. I don't know if it's actually that great or not, but yeah, I never played it just because, again, I think it was actually even free on PlayStation as like a PlayStation game of the month, and I still didn't really touch it. So I don't know. Let me know if I made a mistake and I should go and play it, but I just heard it wasn't amazing. But I did play the Dead Space remake, and that was really awesome. So really glad that that turned out well. But after spending about 10 hours blasting my way through aliens, zombies, prisoners, etc., with a giant hammer, electric whip, a camo machine gun, pistols, a mortar backpack, and more, there's tons of weapons in this game, I learned that there are still secrets lurking within this cold, dead, mysterious prison. It is a pretty interesting environment, a prison in space, pretty unique. So in Redacted, you play as an ordinary guard who is trying to escape Black Iron Prison. At the start of each run, you have 2 base weapons to use for killing things. As you progress through the prison, you will reach different environments and collect all kinds of resources used for upgrading and unlocking new ways to improve your runs, whether that be a new suit, weapons, or new skills. Don't worry, though, it's not just you and a bunch of aliens and zombies. There are still other humans with you in the prison. There's a warden who is actively talking to you throughout your runs, kind of rooting for you, kind of wondering how the hell is this guy making it this far. And yeah, he is kind of the main guy you're going to be talking to. There are also inmates competing against you.
There might be other survivors. Just my luck. It's a dirtbag guard. That escape pod is mine. If you try to follow me, I will end you. That is, if the monsters don't end you first.
And apparently there's only one escape pod. So basically you and a bunch of inmates are racing for this escape pod while the warden watches you. And was just kind of thinking to myself, why isn't the warden taking this escape pod himself? I'm thinking that there's something maybe more sinister going on in the background, but he's kind of just watching over everything. And maybe he's got his own escape pod. I have no idea. But yeah, there's only one escape pod. So you're all kind of trying to reach it. And while competing against these people, so they're not real people. They're just AIs, or they're just NPCs basically. But while competing, there is a progress bar at the bottom of the screen that shows how close you and your inmates are from escaping the prison. And there are certain, so interesting enough, there's like Guitar Hero style combos where you have to input I don't know, Guitar Hero is just what I thought of, but and as you press them, there's like chords that are played like guitar chords. So it just reminds me of Guitar Hero. And basically you're inputting these codes and either doing damage or stalling them, or basically you're trying to like make sure that they don't escape before you, because that actually can happen. There has been times, actually it was once that in the 10 hours that an NPC beat me to the room, the final boss room, beat the boss and escaped before I could do it. I felt really embarrassed that happened, but it did. So yeah, you're basically trying to prevent them from escaping, and they can also do the same stuff to you. So they can make life harder for you by, you know, gassing a room where you have to kill quickly or you take a lot of damage, or there's one where your gun jams and you have to, like, as you can't really shoot that well, you have to like unjam your gun. So like there's tons of different kind of like counters that they can put up, that they can basically do to you. And again, while making your way through each area, you get to choose rewards, kind of like, again, in Hades, where you have these different doors you can go through, and there's you can choose resources, new experiments, which basically make your guns burn or freeze or whatever. There's a bunch of different upgrades. And as you progress through these doors, obviously you get stronger and stronger as the run goes on. You can also enter database rooms, which you can unredact info on each inmate, and that will help you fight against them. So basically each inmate has their own story, their own background, and each time you go into one of these rooms, you can unredact a piece of information. There's probably like 10 or so for each inmate. And as you unlock those, you will either gain increased damage against them, damage reduction, and learn their weaknesses. So for instance, there's this one guy named Sark, and one of the weaknesses for him is slide kicking. So if you slide kick him, he like falls over. So each inmate, when you actually go up against them, which sometimes happens, you can go into a room, the same room as them, and you actually have to fight them. And you have to do damage, try to survive. And this unredacting info definitely helps you fight against them. So kind of important for going into those database rooms. So at the end of each stage, there's a boss, obviously, that has unique attacks and will change up how it fights you as you do more damage to it. Once cleared, you move on to the next biome with new enemies and a new boss to face at the end. So there's actually 4 biomes, and again, as you progress, new enemies that actually spawn, and each boss, obviously different attacks, different stuff. Yeah, pretty interesting. And then obviously if you do happen to die, which it's a roguelike, so you're going to die, you will casually unlock more suits and weapons to experiment with, adding more depth and major replayability to the game. There's actually way more replayability than I thought. It's pretty in-depth. There's always something to unlock or grind for. I'm 10 hours in and still have so much to unlock and do. There is actually a lot of stuff. When you die, you respawn in the game's hub area where you can do all of your upgrading and unlocking. There's also portraits, except they're more like holograms of each inmate that you've met, and you can't really like view it. You just kind of like, it's just kind of there. And when you do actually take them out, you get like while you're fighting them, if you actually end up killing them, you get like a little trinket to let you know that you've taken them out. And you can also look at your past attempts too while you're in the hub as well. There's quite a bit of info and stuff, and it makes sense that you can do that. And yeah. So combat is obviously the reason I love these types of games. The combat is very satisfying in Redacted. There are tons of weapons, upgrades, and combos to try out. You can kick, slide, dash, attack, shoot, bomb, freeze, burn, rot, slow. There's so many different ways to handle opponents, and it keeps things pretty fresh. Although you do start with and go through the same biomes each time, eventually new enemies will spawn in those biomes that you may not have seen on previous run. So for instance, in the first area, when I first started, there was just the simple enemies. And as I progress further and further, there's actually new enemies that show up in each biome. So there's something to kind of look forward to facing. I don't know if you're necessarily looking forward to it, but there's something new that pops up that you're like, oh, okay, cool. I've never fought this thing. What does it do? So it is pretty cool that they add new stuff as you continue to go, keeping things a little bit fresh. The game definitely has the same addictive type gameplay as Hades, where you move fast and can acquire insane builds where you just completely shred entire rooms in seconds, making you feel OP and just giving you that shot of carnage dopamine. There are also schematics and sciences which you can acquire to change the way your weapons work, which adds even more ways to destroy enemies and makes killing them even more fun. There are also experiments which can do all sorts of things to your build, like freeze, burn, rot, slow, weaken, apply crit damage, more dashes, energy fields, little robot companions, and more. There are plenty of experiments to try out and have fun with. Experiments also come at different tiers and levels which you can upgrade on your runs. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure there are legendary tiers, and the highest rarity in my runs, again, over 10 hours, the highest I saw were epic. So even after that much time, I still haven't seen how OP you can actually get, and there are also different difficulties after you beat your first run. I feel like the game has more content in the end game, kind of how after you beat your first run on Hades, you were basically just beginning your journey. Suits are another way to change up combat. Some let you do increased damage or reduce damage or give you more health. It all depends on what kind of player you are and what kind of run you want. There is a lot of different builds, a lot of different things you can do. I'm very shocked at how kind of vast this game is for $30. Like they did a fantastic job. On some of the more minor things, in my opinion, the game's art style is pretty unique. It's not super bright or colorful or anything, but it has like a certain comic book vibe to it, almost Borderlands style is kind of what it reminded me of, with rock and roll music to match. It honestly hits all the check marks for me. There's nothing like killing the undead in space while blasting rock. The characters are interesting and worth learning about why each of them is in the prison. The story is pretty basic with just trying to escape a prison and all, but to be honest, I'm not playing a shoot 'em up game for the story. I'm playing to shoot things up. And well, of course, Hades is the exception, where, I mean, Greek mythology has always been just very interesting, I think, to a lot of people. And I mean, again, Supergiant they basically reinvented the genre. So like kind of, you can't compare it, but like Hades is in a league of its own, honestly. Overall, for a $30 game, I've already put more time into this gem than Dragon Age Veilguard, a game that I honestly found kind of boring. I put about 3 or 4 hours into that game and just wasn't really vibing with it. The combat wasn't terrible, but there's just a lot of cutscenes, and for me, I just want to kind of just kill things, and and Redacted kind of just hits that spot. And even after 10 hours of Redacted, I still plan on playing more to unlock the additional secrets hidden within the game. Spoiler alert, there are 2 modes that I just beat the final boss. There are 2 modes that you get to unlock once you've beaten the boss, and I do want to unlock those to try those out, so I will be playing more. The post game is pretty awesome. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but I am excited to jump back in and grab my way to that new content that only becomes available after you beat the final boss, and the final boss is also insanely tough. Please let me know if you enjoyed Redacted and what other roguelikes you are enjoying right now. I have heard that Windborne is pretty good. I might actually try that out after I'm kind of finished with this one. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.